Hi children, hope you are doing well. In the last class, we discussed about uniform motion and non-uniform motion. What is uniform motion? The object covers equal distances in equal intervals of time. What is non-uniform motion? The object covers unequal distances in equal intervals of time. How is the graph of uniform motion? The graph of uniform motion is a straight line. How is the graph of non-uniform motion? The graph of non-uniform motion is a curve-shaped graph. Okay, then we discussed about speed. What is speed? Speed is the rate of change of distance. What is the equation of speed? Speed is equal to distance by time. Then the unit of speed is meter per second. We also discussed about the average speed. What is average speed? Average speed is usually used to describe the objects in non-uniform motion. Average speed is equal to total distance travelled by total time taken. Okay, the unit of average speed is also meter per second. Then we also discussed about speedometer. What is speedometer? Speedometer is an instrument. What is the use of speedometer? Speedometer is used to measure the speed of the vehicle. To measure the distance of the vehicle, we used odometer to measure the speed of the vehicle at a particular instance of time. We use speedometer. Okay, hope you clear that. Then we move on to the next topic, that is velocity. What is velocity? Velocity is also same as that of speed. I already said that speed is the rate of change of distance. Here, velocity is the rate of change of displacement, or we can say that velocity of an object is the displacement travelled by the object in unit time. Displacement travelled by the object in unit time. It is velocity. That is, velocity of an object is the rate of change of displacement. Velocity is the rate of change of displacement. Okay. Velocity is the rate of change of displacement. That is, how can we write the velocity? The equation for velocity. Before that, the speed of a body in a particular direction is called velocity. How can we relate the velocity and the speed? If speed has direction, then it is called velocity. Okay, if the speed has direction, then it is called velocity. We know speed has no direction, speed has only magnitude, that is, speed is a scalar quantity. If the speed has a direction, then we called it as velocity. That is, velocity has both the direction and magnitude. So, velocity is a vector quantity. Velocity is a vector quantity. How can we write the equation of velocity? That is, velocity is equal to displacement by time. How can we write the equation of velocity? That is, velocity is equal to displacement by time. Then what is the unit of velocity? That is, the unit of velocity is same as that of speed. What is the unit of speed? It is meter per second. So, the unit of velocity is also meter per second. Kilometer per hour is the bigger unit of velocity. Other units is centimeter per second. Centimeter per second also is the unit of velocity. We usually use meter per second as the unit of velocity. Okay, hope you clear what is velocity. Velocity is the rate of change of displacement. If the speed has direction, then it is called velocity. So velocity is a vector quantity. The equation for velocity is equal to displacement by time. The equation for speed is equal to distance by time. Here velocity is equal to displacement by time. The unit of velocity is meter per second, and also the other units are kilometer per hour and centimeter per second. Here kilometer per hour is the biggest unit of velocity. Okay, then we move on to the next topic, that is average velocity. Average velocity. We already studied about average speed. Average speed is the ratio of distance travelled by total time. That is, average speed is equal to total distance by total time. Here average velocity is equal to initial velocity plus final velocity. Initial velocity plus final velocity all divided by 2. What do we mean by initial velocity? What is initial velocity? And what do we mean by final velocity? If a car starts its motion, it has a velocity. That velocity is called initial velocity. When I take a time interval t, time be 10 minutes, starting of 10 minutes, the car has a velocity. The object has a velocity. That velocity is called initial velocity. At the end of 10 minutes, the car has a velocity or the object has a velocity, and that velocity is called final velocity. Okay, hope you clear that. Average velocity can be written as V average, that is equal to initial velocity. Here initial velocity can be denoted by the letter U, and the final velocity can be denoted by the letter by V, all divided by 2. This is the equation for average velocity. This is the equation for average velocity. So, what is average velocity? Average velocity is equal to initial velocity plus final velocity all divided by 2. That is, V average is equal to initial velocity can be denoted by the letter U, and final velocity can be denoted by the letter V, then U plus V by 2. Okay. Or how can we define the average velocity? Average velocity is the arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean. Hope you studied in the mathematics the mean. That is, average velocity is the arithmetic mean of initial velocity and final velocity for a given time interval. That is t. Okay. Hope you clear. What is the unit of average velocity? The unit of average velocity is also meter per second. Hope you clear the velocity and the average velocity. Here is an important point, that is, we already studied about average speed and average velocity. The average speed cannot be zero. If we take any situation, the average speed will not be zero. The average speed never becomes zero. But the average velocity can be zero. Average velocity can be 0. We already studied that the distance can never be 0, but the displacement can be 0. Like that, here average speed can never become 0, never be 0, but average velocity can be 0. Hope you clear that. Then we can discuss the difference between speed and velocity. Studied about speed and velocity. What is the difference between speed and velocity? The first difference is its definition. What is the definition for speed? Speed is the rate of change of distance. Speed is the rate of change of distance. Okay. Then velocity is the rate of change of displacement. Velocity is the rate of change of displacement. Okay. Then another major difference between speed and velocity is speed is a scalar quantity. That is, it has only magnitude. Okay. Whereas velocity is the vector quantity. That is, it has both magnitude and direction. Speed is the scalar quantity and velocity is the vector quantity. Then the equation for speed. Speed is equal to distance by time. Speed is equal to distance by time. And velocity is equal to displacement by time. Velocity is equal to displacement by time. Okay. Then speed is always positive. We already said that speed cannot be zero. That is, speed is always positive. Here velocity can be zero, negative and positive. Here velocity can be positive, negative and zero. Then average speed of a moving body cannot be zero. Average speed cannot be zero. Here average velocity can be zero. Okay, these are the major differences between speed and velocity. Then we move on to the problem section. Okay, the first problem is the odometer of a car reads 2000 km at the start of a trip and 2400 km at the end of the trip. What do we mean by odometer? Odometer is used to describe the distance. Odometer gives the distance of the car. Okay, the odometer of a car reads 2000 km at the start of trip. At the beginning of the trip, the odometer reads 2000 km and 2400 km at the end of the trip. At the end of the trip, it is 2400 km. So, we have to calculate the distance from here. That is, the distance is equal to at the start of the trip, it is 2000 km. The odometer reads. At the end of the trip, the odometer reads 2400 km. So, it is the distance is the difference between these two. That is 2400 km minus 2000 km, that is equal to 400 km. Here distance is 400 km. Then if the trip took 8 hours, that is the time is 8 hours. Okay, then calculate the average speed of the car in kilometer per hour and meter per second. We have to calculate the average speed. Here we have to find the average speed of the car. What is the equation for average speed? What is the equation for average speed? We already studied that. That is, average speed is equal to total distance by total time. Total distance travelled by total time taken. Okay. Then here the total distance is 400 km. The time is 8 hours. Okay. Then the answer will be 50. 400 by 8, it is 50 kilometer per hour. Here kilometer per hour. The unit is in kilometer per hour. So we have to find another thing also. That is, we have to find the answer in kilometer per hour and in meter per second. Okay, in kilometer per hour, the average speed is 50 kilometer per hour. Then we have to calculate in meter per second. That is, we have to convert this answer into meter per second. That is, in order to convert, it is an important point. In order to convert an answer in kilometer per hour to meter per second, we have to convert the answer in kilometer per hour to meter per second. That is, we have to multiply the answer in kilometer per hour into 5 by 18. Okay, then we will get the answer in meter per second. When we multiply by 5 by 18, the answer in kilometer per hour with 5 by 18, we will get the answer in meter per second. So here the answer is in kilometer per hour. We have to change it into meter per second. In order to change it, average speed is equal to 50 kilometer per hour. We have to change it into meter per second. So we multiply it with 5 by 18. Then we will get the answer we will get approximately equal to 13.9. This 13.9 is in meter per second. Here we get the average speed in meter per second. There is an important point, that is, in order to change the answer in kilometer per hour into meter per second, we have to multiply this answer in kilometer per hour, the answer in kilometer per hour by into 5 by 18. Then we will get the answer in meter per second. This is the first case. In the second case, we have to change the answer in meter per second to kilometer per hour. That is, we have to change the answer in order to change the answer in meter per second into kilometer per hour. We have to multiply this answer with 18 by 5. Then we will get the answer in kilometer per hour. Hope you understand this. This is an important point. There are many problems relating to this. It will ask many problems relating to this to convert kilometer per hour into meter per second and meter per second into kilometer per hour. So you have to study this equation well. Today we discussed about velocity, average velocity, and the problems. In the next class we will discuss more problems. Okay, then we will continue in the next class. Thank you.